So, if you have some kind of works and you want to encourage others to reproduce and reuse it under your own terms, maybe even modify it, you should put a permissive Creative Commons license on it. It's not quite the same for software, because it gets more complex, because the software can be run, and that aspect has to be clarified as well. For this reason, for software, you should not use Creative Commons licensing. A clear example where you don't have the permission to reproduce and modify the software is Microsoft Windows. Opposite is the operating system Linux, which is known as free software. Don't get confused. The word free here means liberty, not $0. You're free to do certain things with that software, like modify what it does, as long as you give proper attribution to the original authors and keep the same license when you redistribute the software. You can't just lock it up later. One example of a free license is the GPL, the GNU General Public License. The spirit here is really to create an ecosystem of software with everyone contributing on improving it by resharing their modifications. Up until a few years ago, this principle worked well, because you had to reshare your improvements when you distributed the software, maybe because you wanted to sell it. The way the software industry evolved, though, is that more and more were using services on the web. For instance, just to pick an example, many people use Gmail and don't have an email client locally installed. This means that Google can provide the service it wants to provide, but never has to redistribute the software behind it, even though most likely some of it is running modified GPL licensed software. To counter this, a new license was created called AGPL. The requirement here is that if you're running a web service, such as a website, using AGPL licensed software, you have to make the code available to the general public, and similarly for its derivatives. This is the case for edX.org, which means that you have access to all the code produced by the edX nonprofit. You can look at it, modify it, and improve it. For Coursera, you don't have access to that code.